Average at Best Cornhole here.
This is our first experience with CornSlingers Bag Co., and they really didn't disappoint. For starters, company's veteran owned and operated. We are very fortunate enough to get our hands on these brand new Wildfires before the pre-sale happened. This allowed us to, get them broke in, learn them a little bit, and try to knock this review out before they actually become open for sale. And we're pairing them up with the Apex. We chose the Apex because pretty much has the same fill in it. The slow side is different, fast side's different, but it is also a newer bag from CBC.
We'll start on the speeds on the Apex. They have a 5 slow side and a 7 fast side.
Yeah, the nice thing about that 7 fast side is it's not too intimidating. A lot of the time you flip a bag over for a push or collect or whatever, and that super fast side, because mentally in your mind you think, well, I need to throw it harder. Well, what's nice about the 7 is that it's probably not going to go flying off the back as easier, and it's also enough to push through a good mess.
Now the Wildfire comes with a 5.5 on the slow side and a 9 on the fast side.
It leads us right to the materials, and the Apex now, it does have that clone hybrid slow side. ACL bags with that same material, Brotherhood Guardian, Kill Shots, Wolverine, we're all familiar with it. Real nice slow side. The Wildfire, it has that R hybrid that you'd find on like Ultra, Viper R, but also the Ronin series from CBC utilizes that slow side.
We're going to talk about the template, and both of them have a medium template.
They do have the medium, but the Wildfire, it actually has real tight corners on it, which kind of makes it feel and play a little bit larger than how the Apex does also. The Wildfire, I think with that tight corner there's more rooms for the beads to go. So it's going to be a little bit looser and thinner than what the Apex is. And I can say that because we always measure our bags, and then we weigh them also. And when I did weigh them, all 8 of these bags weighed exactly 15.92 ounces, which is very impressive. I've only seen that from one other company. But what that tells me that if a company is paying that close attention to make sure that they put the exact same fill amount in each bag, what else are they paying attention to? What other things are they going to be, trying to make perfect also?
Both these series use CBC's Elite Tribe Blend fill.
Yeah, that's kind of a mouthful to say that. CBC probably takes a lot of pride in their blends or whatever, so they did some marketing with that. Essentially what it is just it's a mixed fill with 3 different pellets in there. You probably got some flats and discs and rounds and whatever they use, which it's a really good fill. We enjoyed it a lot. The bags are active because of it, but they also they're pretty good with like hole friendliness and whatnot because their fill, it doesn't want to settle. Like I said, the Wildfires, I think with those really sharp corners and the pellets dispersing a little bit, they're definitely going to be more floppy than the Apex are. I don't want to say that the Apex aren't floppy because they are a floppy bag, but it's just that the Wildfire definitely is a little bit more floppier. Moving on to Bagmanship and CBC, they make some great bags, don't they?
Yeah, that's probably why they're so popular in the ACO.
That's what I'm thinking. Closing seam, everything's good. I did notice for some reason these Wildfires fuzzed up real bad. I don't know if you can see that, around the corners, and it seems like everyone's kind of like that. I've been paying close attention to it. It hasn't affected playability at all. I don't know what that is. That's probably more of a material thing than it is a CBC thing when they made the bags, but it was a little odd to see it at first, and you could see it at all the corners. Next is Breakin Method, and Breakin Method was actually a little different on these 2 series.
Didn't you make a short on that?
We did, because CBC actually has their own recommended method. It's on their website, or you watch a short, it shows instructions. They actually want you to take the white distilled vinegar and put, just a plain vinegar on the fabrics, and then you massage and knead it in, which is a little different. I always mixed it with the water and soaked before I did that. It worked. I'm going to try it with some other series coming up. I don't know if it was any better than the way that I normally do it, but it worked for these two series.
Both of these series were pretty forgiving.
I would think that the Wildfire was probably a little bit more forgiving. It does have the faster slow side on it. Like I said, the pellets disperse a little bit more with the tight corner, so that helps it land flat. I don't want to say that the Apex wasn't forgiving. It was a forgiving bag. I mean, you threw them a lot, and other people that don't really have a flat bag threw them, and they weren't kicking too much. They are an active bag, and to me, they were a little bit more active than the Wildfire were. Whole bodiness, and again, both series were pretty hole friendly. I'm gonna have to give the nod to the Wildfire again. That extra room in the corner, I mean, there's definitely more of a chance of that corner drooping down in and catching the hole. Now, I did notice on both of them that, like, when I was throwing across the hole, this doesn't happen very often. Normally when you're throwing right at the hole and you miss off to the side a little bit, they can grab and wrap around the back. These ones, for some reason, I noticed when I was throwing across and sometimes I'd miss left, they would grab and then wrap the opposite way back around, which is kind of unique. I've never really seen that or paid attention to that too much when I was throwing bags, but I did notice it for these. I just felt that the Wildfires were a little bit more extra drippy than what the Apex was. And you tend to get that with, a bag that plays a little bit larger and has more room for the pellets to move. But that tri-blend fill that CBC uses, it is a very good mixture around the hole. The pellets don't want to seem to settle. And if it's near the hole or hanging or sitting there and, the materials are a little bit faster, it's going to drip in.
Collectibility. I thought that the Apex collected a little bit better than the Wildfire.
I would have to agree with that. It's a little bit more of a fuller bag, and it excelled in collecting. The Wildfire, I noticed a few times when I was, trying to push for collect, it was bouncing off the bag that I was trying to collect. And I saw this, multiple times, especially the day that him and I were recording these bags. I don't have any explanation for that. The bag that I was trying to collect still went in, but for some reason, must have been my throw that day or the angle, or maybe I was hitting it. Maybe it might be these tight corners. If your spin goes on and that tight corner hits at the right moment, it just deflected off to the side, pushed the bag in, but the one I was throwing did not go in. Time for a capable shot, and with this fill and how these bags are and these hybrid materials, we know all the shots are capable with them. I would tend to say the Apex is a little bit easier, especially cutting. I could cut the Apex better. I could cut the Wildfire. I'm not saying I couldn't cut the Wildfire, but it's fuller, so I'm sure people that are pretty good at rolling are going to have an easier time at rolling those Apex than they would the Wildfire, but they probably still could roll the Wildfire. I'm not saying that's not possible. It just seemed like the Apex was more of the dirty style game bag, as the Wildfire, I mean, it was just great at running holes, basically.
That leads us to playability.
Apex, I mean, most people, especially average players, they're not going to have any problem at all with those Apex. They're forgiving enough. They are a little bit active, so you're going to be able to do a few things with it. They're going to like that bag quite a bit. The Wildfire, on the other hand, I'd say that's probably touted more for the average player just because of its hole running abilities. Like I said, people are going to be able to do things with that, but I can see this bag being very, very, very popular, like your local Switch or blind draw or something, just because it's going to be easy for everybody to throw. And then it does have that extra drip around the hole, which, makes you a little bit more confident and makes you think that you're doing better shots than what you would with a different series bag. Company information on CBC. Obviously, they have a website, which is just CornSlingers Bag Co. They do have a Facebook page. It's the company page. It's at CornSlingers Bag Co. They are super active on social media, especially when it comes to the ACO. You could see that they're putting a bunch of live streams up and they're talking about it. They actually have their own podcast. If you're into that, you got to go into YouTube and find them. I don't know exactly what their YouTube handle is. Probably CornSlingers Bagco. But I think it's a weekly podcast. It's pretty interesting. I listened to a few episodes already. They do give some information on their bags, and they recap ACO majors and events. CBC has some pretty cool designs. If you go on their website, they do have some broadcast designs, but they also have some of these other unique designs.
Yeah, this cat looks pretty cool, but I really like this Wildfire really cool because it has like fire eyes, a weird nose, and it just has letters of Wildfire on its mouth.
Yeah, it does pop, like these colors, especially those eyeballs. I mean, it looks like you got flaming eyeballs coming out of the bag. I was very impressed with this design when I got them in and looked at it closely.
Both of these series are $80.
Now we're at our final thoughts, and I'm going to start with the Wildfire. CBC actually told me, they're like, you're going to like the Wildfire a little bit more than the Apex, and they were right. There's something about this bag, and I can't even credit the fill in it because, I mean, they do have the same fill, and I have like recently, I've been liking the Clone Hybrid a little bit more than the R Hybrid. So I don't even know what that is. It's just the bag has a great hand fill. I think those tight corners makes it feel a little bit larger. I do like a larger, floppier bag. And just the drippiness of this bag. The pure white hybrid, I think, plays a little bit into that. But it just seemed like bags went in the hole that maybe shouldn't have went in the hole or wouldn't with other series. And I think that's really drew me to it. Now, the Apex 2, I have no issue throwing that bag at all. It goes along with a little bit fuller, better hand feel. I like that the fast side material, you know, this is that common 7 fast side. You actually find that on the back side of a lot of other bags. And pretty sure CBC does use that as the slow side of some of their other series. But it just, the contrast between this and the hybrid material isn't much. And that's what I really like when you grip a bag and, you know, your fingers, the material on your fingers is the same with the materials on your thumb. It adds confidence to your throw when you like holding that bag.
Do we recommend these bags?
We do recommend these bags. I think you could tell. The price is right. Getting them from a good company, a veteran-owned and operated company. And we're trying to expand our knowledge with ACO stamp bags because ACO is also popular and we shouldn't just only do ACL bags. So we've went, you know, played quite a few companies, I guess, and these are probably top ACO bags that I've played so far. But also the Wildfires and I guess the Apex too. They're top other bags that I've played. Also, you know, depending on stamp, no stamp at all. I did like the Wildfires a little bit more than I liked the Apex, but that's just personal opinion. It just seemed like the Apex, they're a good bag, but nothing stood out about them. I feel that, you know, a lot of other bags are like that Apex. Something about these Wildfires, and I think the design had something to play with it, and the feel of the bag with the flop, they stood out to me a little bit more than what the Apex did.
If you want to be average or something, be average at Cornhole.